Hello and welcome. It's just past 5 p.m. on this frigid Monday in the state of Illinois. I don't know where you're listening from, but welcome to another live broadcast of the Cole Memo. In today's episode, I will be sharing the President of the United States of America's most recent comments on the status of cannabis rescheduling. It's a process that started a while ago, and we'll be taking callers. I want to hear what you all think about this. I'm curious your thoughts. Along the way, I'll be sharing thoughts from others, so feel free to tune in and even share your thoughts on other thoughts. I'll drop that link to call in here in just a moment. You can check out my website and work at colememo.com. You can consider supporting the show at colememo.com/support, and we'll have the lines open here in a moment. Feel free to call in live at colememo.com/live. Once again, those lines will be opening here in a moment. Let's talk about the latest on the status of cannabis rescheduling right here on this episode of
The Cole Memo.
The Cole Memorandum.
The Cole Memo.
The Cole Memo.
The Cole Memorandum.
I mean, you have to respect the memo.
All right. If you haven't been following the details, the cannabis rescheduling process actually began back in October of 2022 when then President Joe Biden directed federal agencies to review cannabis's status under the Controlled Substances Act. If I recall correctly, I was at Benzinga that day and everybody was going wild. The Department of Health and Human Services later recommended moving cannabis from Schedule 1 to Schedule 3, a shift supporters could argue could ease research barriers and provide some relief for the legal industry as it exists today. People that oppose the move argue that Schedule 3 isn't far enough and that cannabis, like alcohol and tobacco, should be a descheduled substance. In other words, it should not be on the list of controlled substances. After that recommendation, the process largely stalled with very little public movement. That is until August 11th, 2025, when President Donald Trump made this statement.
Any other questions, sir? There's reporting that the administration is going to reclassify marijuana. Would that send mixed messages that if marijuana is okay, some drugs are okay, but we're trying to clean up crime? How do they go hand in hand?
We're only looking at that. That's early, but somebody reported it, which is fine. We're looking at it. Some people like it. Some people hate it. Some people hate the whole concept of marijuana because if it does bad for the children, it does bad for people that are older than children. But we're looking at reclassification, and we'll make a determination over the next few weeks. And that determination hopefully will be the right one. It's a very complicated subject, the subject of marijuana. I've heard great things having to do with medical, and I've had bad things having to do with just about everything else. But medical and, for pain and various things, I've heard some pretty good things. But for other things, I've heard some pretty bad things. The other part of your question,
So the part that stood out to me, and we'll get to his statement that he made today. He did just make a statement on the process today, a little bit more than a few weeks later, I'll just say. That statement, like I said, was made on August 11th. As you heard, he said, we'll be making that determination in a few weeks. Today is December 15th, 2025. As we shared in our most recent episode, there has been a flurry of reporting that has suggested that the United States could reschedule cannabis. The reports suggested as early as today. Some have said tomorrow. And I even saw the Marijuana Herald reported that rescheduling could happen this week, but no later than early January is what I saw the folks at the Marijuana Herald reporting. So today, the president did make a statement on the subject, and let's check out what was said. So we'll put it in full screen, and I do want to hear your thoughts on these statements. You can call into the show now at colememo.com/live. I see people are dropping their comments folks. Keep dropping the comments. We'll throw them on screen, and we will discuss some of this. But let's watch President Trump's most recent statements. He was asked basically if the reporting was accurate, if the administration was considering rescheduling cannabis. Here's his response.
Is it accurate that you are considering an executive order to reclassify marijuana as a good?
We are considering that.
Okay, are you planning?
Because a lot of people want to see it, the reclassification, because it leads to tremendous amounts of research that can't be done unless you reclassify. So we are looking at that very strongly.
Is it accurate that you are considering?
So I think that notably that statement that he made today is much different than the one that he made on August 11th. And by that, I mean his statement on August 11th, he kind of was sitting on both sides of the fence. What do I mean by that? Let's watch the 22 seconds of the clip from August 11th that I'm referring to.
And that determination hopefully will be the right one. It's a very complicated subject, the subject of marijuana. I've heard great things having to do with medical, and I've had bad things having to do with just about everything else. But medical and, for pain and various things, I've heard some pretty good things. But for other things, I've heard some pretty bad things.
So, he's heard great things, but he's heard bad things about everything else. I think that's super notable. Just saying the difference between his statement then and the statement now. This statement was all focused on research, and there was no mention of, well, it's good for medical, but maybe not for adult use. You'll also notice that when he was making those statements, he appeared to be reading, which I know that some critics of President Trump might take issue at that, but if I'm putting it on my screen right now, you can see he actually glances down at his podium and appears to be reading. At least that's some of the coverage that I've seen. So perhaps they prepared him on the statement because of all of the reporting leading up to this press release. But yeah, so there's been some speculation in the media, and I am curious what you all think. So drop your comments below. Cannabis Critique says just politics, wouldn't take anything he says seriously. Flash C4 says, as much as I'd like to see descheduling, this all has to happen to get there eventually. And then Genetic Memory Farms is saying exactly what I thought somebody would say. But let's talk about the extension of the rumor mill, if you will. I thought there were some notable statements made in today's episode of the Dales Report. These people are pretty connected on the cannabis scene, and let's just listen to a statement they made. They were discussing the developments that we've been discussing in today's broadcast. Let's watch this first statement that I made, which I found notable.
50 years. I'm 49.
I think the Vegas.
This one. Not the one where he was saying his age. Here we go. He says something to the effect of, I think the Vegas odds, and that's what I'm referring to. Here it is.
50 years. I'm 49.
I think the Vegas odds are favoring us having a live stream tomorrow.
Well. Does Anthony know something that I don't?
Where can
Anyway.
you place bets on this?
I'm not.
Bet on it?
You could probably start on Kalshi.
Your Eagles
So,
looked pretty good yesterday, but we don't have to make this into a sports
We
podcast.
are changing the subject to sports.
We are, very subtly.
okay. So, I love this show, by the way. Shad and Anthony, it's a great show. They also made this statement. I took a note. I was watching this after the show. I wasn't able to tune in live, unfortunately. Here's another statement they made that stood out to me. Let's watch it. And please drop your comments below. You can call in now at colememo.com/live. Here's another statement that stood out to me.
Online and when we can get an announcement, but never been hotter as far as the rumor mill that's going on right now. And I hope we're back here tomorrow at 4 if you read between the lines. So, well, we shall see. Anything else you want to add, my friend?
Nope.
So, of course, they, ended that with "we shall see." But from my perspective, I'm reading between the lines, and I don't know. Seems like they're saying something could happen tomorrow. It seems like cannabis rescheduling. Maybe, perhaps there's some sort of statement. Again, as I said at the beginning of the episode, the reports suggested that rescheduling of cannabis could happen as early as today, possibly tomorrow. while the Marijuana Herald reported that rescheduling could happen this week, but no later than early January. Folks, let me know what you think. I am definitely curious. We'll be right back on this episode of
The Cole Memo.
The Cole Memo. The Cole Memorandum.
The Cole Memo.
The Cole memorandum.
The Cole Memo.
The Cole Memo is what allows this whole thing to go on.
I mean, you have to respect the memo.
Hey, this is Tommy Chong, and you're listening and watching The Cole Memo.
All right, we're taking callers, folks. Feel free to call in. I'm curious what you think about the news. Let's read some of the comments that have come in. So Flash C4 said Tom Howard just made a comment on his latest video, and he thinks by Friday or on Friday of this week. Interesting. People throwing out all sorts of dates here. Genetic Memory Farm says, I kind of agree with Tom Howard's take on this, and that it is nothing positive for those of us who grow. Wow. Tom Howard said that? I'll have to check out that video. I haven't seen that video yet. Ray's Racing Videos 4025 says deschedule. Yep. And you know, that's a statement that I had made in the past. I welcome the progress that comes with rescheduling. I don't think it goes far enough. And I've said that. In case you missed what I said, I will read you the full statement I recently provided to a mainstream media source, which has since been taken out of context. So here's the full context of what I have said. I think that rescheduling is a step in the right direction, but it's not meaningful reform. On social media, that's all that people are sharing, is that Cole said it's a step in the right direction, but I think all they're saying, they're putting out, quote, rescheduling is not meaningful reform. Cole Preston, they're attributing that quote to me. That's not what I said. I said it is a step in the right direction, but it's not meaningful reform. And then I continued that to say, the goal of the cannabis decriminalization movement has always been to treat cannabis similarly to alcohol and tobacco. Similarly, not exactly the same. By that, I mean, alcohol and tobacco are not controlled substances. They're not classified as controlled substances. Meaningful reform involves, and I'll say requires, that cannabis be completely descheduled. Moving cannabis to Schedule 3 or Schedule 2 or anywhere else on the controlled substances list, this might go without saying, but would leave cannabis as a controlled substance. I don't think cannabis should be on the controlled substances list. Curious what you all think. I think, at the very least, it should be treated like alcohol and tobacco. Similar, not exactly the same. I have issues with the way that we regulate alcohol and tobacco, but that's for another episode. Folks, we have over 20 people tuning in. Drop your comments below. Some of the other takes I've seen online is that people are saying that this is the end of adult use and medical. I tend to push back on that idea. I don't think, look, we've seen crazier things, but I don't think that rescheduling is going to mark the end of the markets as we know them today. But I'm just curious, what you all think. Mike Malcolm commented and let us know what he thought. Somebody else is saying Trump is playing games with cannabis. It is an interesting time, I guess I will just say. Somebody says AZ tuning in. Oh, you're tuning in from Arizona. Thank you for tuning in. Appreciate you tuning in. Folks, if you haven't already smashed the like button, I would appreciate it. I do think that the timing on this is notable. There's more attention than ever on the Epstein scandal, if you will, and how it relates to Donald Trump. And many people are speculating that this has been the perfect look over here distraction, rescheduling. So cheers, smoking on some homegrown. Speaking of homegrown, hell yeah, Mike, feel free to call in, man. You don't have to stay long if you don't want to. It's colememo.com/live. Brian Dombrowski, you should call in colememo.com/live. He says they have never said rescheduling. They say reclassifying. That's farm bill language, brother. Strap in. That's Brian Dombrowski's take on the issue. I don't know. That would be interesting. Someone says he's just depriving U.S. people from getting medical cannabis. Someone says they're in frozen southeastern Ohio. Thank you for tuning in. Yeah, we're frozen over here in Chillinois as well. It is definitely Chillinois is definitely living up to its name. Someone said he used cannabis to win presidential elections twice. Republicans will not get any votes. And Mike says, I would love to, but I'm in a meeting acting like I'm paying attention. He's in a meeting acting like he's paying attention. That's the move right there. Yeah. Look, I'll show you some other statements that have been made on the matter. So if you look at the video we just watched, throw it on screen here. If you scroll down, the folks, our friends at Smart Approaches to Marijuana, someone says, gotta reload BRB. Oh, snap. Our friends at Smart Approaches to Marijuana, who I will announce right now or plan to be on the show later this week. It's always controversial when our friends come onto the show, but I think it's important to bring on all perspectives, even those that I disagree with. And I tend to disagree with people that don't believe that cannabis should be legal. And that's exactly who Smart Approaches to Marijuana is. If you didn't know that already, if you've never heard of them, you can see my conversations I've had with them at colememo.com/Sam. Let's get into their thoughts. So here is what they commented below the Trump statement today. And they say, moving marijuana to Schedule 3 would do little to promote research. However, it would give a $2 billion tax break to the marijuana industry. President Trump, don't reschedule marijuana. And then they've got this infographic here, which I've actually not seen. I'll display it on screen if you'd like to pause the screen and take a deeper look at this. It looks like they are comparing what Schedule 1 versus Schedule 3 would mean for cannabis. So you can see at this very top here, they're saying Schedule 1, can they deduct business expenses? Are business expenses tax deductible? Under Schedule 1, no. Under Schedule 3, yes. Which, of course, is what a lot of advocates behind Schedule 3, I think I mentioned it earlier, people that are supportive of Schedule 3 seem to be supportive of it because of its effect that it could have on the industry. They view it as relief. I have to agree with this comment that just came in. Some cat on the internet says descheduling would be better for researchers. Oh, and they're making that statement to Sam. I tend to agree because that's what I liked about hemp is that it was descheduled cannabis. And as a result of that, our colleges started cannabis programs based on the idea of hemp, which of course was it's just cannabis, but we won't go there anymore. Mike G to God says, can't lie. 280E would make a huge difference in fundraising. Oh, absolutely. And please, folks, I'm not disputing that. So from what I understand, 280E, basically consider it like, I think it's more than half. It's a penalty that you have to pay. And it would be like more than half of your profits, which is why many people say, there's only like one, I'm not going to say their name, but there's one cannabis company that's actually in the black. In other words, that's actually profitable. People say that, 280E has made it so that these cannabis companies cannot be profitable. In case you didn't know, I believe this was a while ago that we looked this up, but the history of 280E has to do with famous local Al Capone, who was, I believe, bootlegging alcohol and perhaps other drugs. I don't know. I can't remember. It's been a while since I researched this. But so there's a section 280 of the IRS tax code, and there's A, B, C, D, and E says something to the effect of if you're selling illegal drugs, you cannot deduct business expenses, because that's exactly what Al Capone tried to do. He was running an illegal business selling alcohol, like I said, I believe. Could be wrong on that. People comment below and correct me if I'm wrong. And he tried to just, he's like, I know my business is illegal, but I'm going to deduct taxes. I'm going to deduct expenses off of my taxes, just like I do with any other business. So in case you're not business people, because I'm not a business person, but I learned that, like, for example, if you buy, if you travel, if you buy equipment, because you pay taxes on those items or as a result of travel, then you can deduct that from your taxes, your business expenses, and save money somehow. Again, I'm not business savvy, so people would have to explain it, but I think I got it pretty accurate at a high level what Schedule 3 is, or sorry, what 280E is. One thing I've thought about with regard to 280E, and I'm curious what Brian Dombrowski thinks about this, because I see you're still commenting. A lot of people have been saying, oh, these hemp sellers in Texas or in Minnesota, they better get ready to pay 280E, since they are going to be scheduling, selling a Schedule 1 substance, because that's essentially what the hemp ban is. It's rescheduling cannabis to Schedule 1. Hemp known as cannabis. I digress. My point is, if cannabis is rescheduled to Schedule 3, would that make it so that, like, Minnesota's hemp market doesn't have to pay 280E either? Or Texas's? Like, it would essentially make it, like, I don't know. I've been thinking about that lately, because before this rescheduling thing was getting a lot of chatter, everybody was focusing on the impending hemp ban, and they were like, well, these people are going to have to pay 280E because they have been selling a Schedule 1 substance. I wonder if that will change, because, again, of course, hemp is cannabis, and if cannabis is Schedule 3, it's all silly. I'm just curious what you all think. Just curious what you think. That's a take I've not seen online yet. So call in now at colememo.com/live. Man, we're not getting a lot of callers. We usually get at least one call. You don't have to turn your video on. You can just listen in. I do appreciate the comments, though. There's a lot to get through. Brandon Krieger says, if you restructure your business to be structured in a different way, you can avoid 280E penalties. Cannabis Legalization News had a story on it. Okay, interesting. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. We will see. Let's see if there were other statements made on President Trump's Twitter. The Dank Informer, who has been on this show several times, and somebody who I've had, I would call, slight disagreements with. Well, they're pretty big disagreements. But if you check out the episodes I've done with the Dank Informer, because when we're on the hook on the phone, seems like we agree with on everything, sensible policy proposals. But then when he gets on his Twitter, he says fucking crazy shit. So I don't ever know with this person. But anyways, they say Democrats are cooked for decades if Trump reschedules marijuana. Take their carrot away. They lied for years about cannabis reform. It's time to unleash the power of the endocannabinoid system. Yeah. We'll see about that. Look, believe me, I want cannabis to be. Yeah, I want it to be free. That was interesting. This weekend, I was called a prohibitionist. I've been called a lot of things, but that was a first for me. Typically, I get called like an anarchist. Sometimes people say I'm like there should be no rules. Pretty close to that. I do think there should be some rules, but I also think that cannabis has been sold unregulated for as long as history, perhaps human history. And everything's been okay. So am I accepting of regulation? Sure. Do I think it's perfect right now? No. Absolutely not. I think it could be improved. And I'd like it to be improved, in fact. I get flack on me being critical of these cannabis regulations, and it's like, I'm not saying burn the house down. I'm pointing these things out so that you can make the foundation of your house stronger. You need to, like, detach your ego from these flawed systems and just call it how you see it. For the love of Christ. Anyways, people are saying no one should go to prison for the possession of a naturally growing plant. People would rather see it removed from the schedule. A lot of different thoughts. It looks like people are possibly replying to my Twitter. Oh no, they're just sharing thoughts or sharing my tweets, I guess, my posts. Yeah, interesting news. Interesting news here. Oh, here we go. Kevin Sabet, leader of Smart Approaches to Marijuana. I just refreshed my feed. He says United States taxpayers have spent $4.7 billion in research on marijuana, according to reporter.nih.gov. Don't tell me we can't research marijuana. That's what Kevin Sabet says. Once again, I have invited the folks from Smart Approaches to Marijuana on the show. If you're just tuning in now and you've never heard of them, I always like to say their name is not exactly what it sounds like. They are a group that has lobbied both in my home state, states around the nation, and at a federal level to keep cannabis from becoming legal. And they're coming on the show this Wednesday. That's the plan right now. Maybe it'll be rescheduled by then, of course, according to some reports, which was, of course, the plan. I wanted to get their takes on rescheduling if it were to happen. And if it doesn't happen, then I guess we'll just have a conversation about what it might be if it were to happen and why they oppose it. So stay tuned for that. And once again, you can find all of my conversations with the folks from Sam at colememo.com/Sam. Some cat on the internet says stop arresting people for pot, period. And somebody else is saying, you, in all caps, they're screaming, USA people will go in full scale demanding an executive order so that Trump show his 30-year tax filing and how he made his billions of dollars. I like your optimism, but I don't think the USA people, I don't know, are you from here? Because I'm not saying that because of how but when you say USA people, I don't know if you know USA people, but we're not all on the same page, unfortunately. Oh, you had a typo. UDSA. USDA? Is that what you're trying to say? I don't know. It's okay. Mike says I might have to call in for that episode. That would be awesome. Some cat on the internet says, in order to get a research proposal approved for Schedule 1, it must take a negative view. I didn't know that. See, that's my question about Schedule 3. What does it require for you to do research on Schedule 3? Because that was the basis of his statement, saying, quote, a lot of people want to see it, the reclassification, because it leads to tremendous amounts of research that can't be done unless you reclassify. So we are looking at that very strongly, end quote. So his comment seems to be about research. Yeah, I'm curious, what does it take to research a Schedule 3 drug? I'll have to Google that. If anybody knows, let me know. But the reason I asked that question is because I could be wrong, but I don't think the universities around the state of Illinois and across this nation had to get any permission from the FDA or DEA or anybody like that to start their cannabis programs, again, on the basis of hemp, because it was descheduled. That's really the point I'm trying to make. Hemp was descheduled, and therefore universities could freely research it. By the way, I've reached out to colleges across the state of Illinois asking them, will you continue your cannabis programs now that hemp has been banned? Because I know that that's the foundation of your cannabis program. And I have not gotten a clear answer. And I think the most clear answer I have gotten is that it's unclear. They say it's unclear. We don't know what the future holds. We're hoping for the best. Which is, I don't want to get too far ahead of myself, but that's unfortunate, and it feels like a step back. It does feel like a step back. So, Brandon Krieger asks, what protections do these dispensaries have from being sued by the pharmaceutical industry for selling a Schedule III drug that is not approved by the FDA? I see a lot of people ask this question, and I don't know. This is like a hotly debated subject on the internet. People, again, and I sort of alluded to this earlier, some people I've seen speculate that what Schedule III means is the end of sort of cannabis sales as we know it, be that adult use or medical cannabis, sort of the over-the-counter style sale of cannabis, flower, edibles, dabs, all that stuff. They say this is the end of that. I have pushed back on that, and I've gotten a lot of critique for pushing back on that. I don't have any reason to believe that it won't happen that way. I just don't feel that it will. However, again, this statement, I'll just play this 22 seconds again. Like if this is how he feels, maybe you have a point.
And that determination hopefully will be the right one. It's a very complicated subject, the subject of marijuana. I've heard great things having to do with medical, and I've had bad things having to do with just about everything else. But medical and, for pain and various things, I've heard some pretty good things. But for other things, I've heard some pretty bad things.
So yeah, I have gotten into debates about this on, for example, High at 9 News. Like the reason I feel that way is because, and I'm curious what your response is. I already know what some people's response is to this, so I'll try to address that. But I feel that cannabis has been sold as a Schedule I substance in complete disregard to the Controlled Substances Act since 1996 in California. I don't think that moving it to a lower classification, and I say that in air quotes because the folks from SAM have corrected me that it's not like one. I don't even know. I'm not going to get into that. Check it out at colememo.com/SAM. My point is that if we have been selling it as a Schedule I substance with complete disregard for the Controlled Substances Act, why then would Schedule III mark the end of that? Also, I think it's notable to mention that reporting has suggested that cannabis executives were in the room. I'm going to preface this comment, and I will follow this comment up with, I can't remember exactly, but I believe that I saw reported that Scott's Miracle Grow CEO was in the room, which of course they just sell cannabis soil. But also, I believe I read that TrueLeaf CEO Kim Rivers was in the room. I mean, she sells cannabis over the counter in several states, medical and adult use. And I just don't see her advocating for a policy that would prevent her from doing that. But, look, I don't know how this is going to play out. Certainly whatever happens is going to be interesting. And I certainly understand the concerns of people that are sort of raising these red flags. I'm not trying to diminish them. I hope you don't misunderstand me because, like I said, I was just called a prohibitionist the other day. I really think I'm almost as sometimes people say I'm as radical as they come on cannabis policy because I say things like, I don't believe cannabis is legal until you can buy, sell, grow, give, use as much as you want, need, or please. I may have missed a few words there, but the point is, I think the way we're regulating cannabis right now is kind of silly and could be like more free flowing. So I digress. Two Dope Dudes says Scott's also bought out the Growers Supply Company. They have huge money in soil and growing. Yeah. Mike G to God says if they couldn't stop it as Schedule I, they definitely won't stop it as Schedule III. Two Dope Dudes affirming that Kim Rivers was there for this meeting that has been reported. Hippie J says, been growing outdoor here in Southern Ohio over 35 plus years. Man, we got a few people coming in from Ohio. Regulate cannabis like tomatoes. Hell yeah, cat. People should look up the tomato model by Ed Rosenthal. That's basically what I believe. That's a pretty good way of putting it. Mike says, you think people should be able to buy and smoke hemp? Def a radical idea. Absolutely. Absolutely. I put this this jar up on my backsplash. It says THCA. I like that because I just think it's hilarious that the people I was talking to, they're just like, they're growing their own weed, right? And it's just weed. They're growing their own weed, and then they give me this jar and they just put a THCA sticker on it. And they're like, hey, Cole, it's hemp. That's all I liked about hemp, folks. I just liked that it's like, okay, we call it that, and then we don't have to deal with all of this bullshit that I've been complaining about for 5+ years on this podcast. That's what it was about. Yeah, otherwise I'm like, I call it hemp, marijuana, pot, dope, smack. I don't care. I smoke it as long as it smokes good. All right. Well, we aren't getting any callers, which is a shame. I was really hoping I could get Brian to call in because I've been wanting to get you on the podcast, but we'll figure it out. Brian says THCA is just fresher weed. Yeah, that I know I've said it on the show in the past, but I do think one of the things that's going to be interesting that comes out of the hemp ban is that, and it's not like it's going to be a big deal. I just like, these companies have been acquiring these seeds and clones based on the idea that they're hemp. And when that goes away, effectively, they will have to go back to the old way of like when somebody asks you and says, hey, where'd you get those seeds? Where'd you get those genetics? You have to say, like Jesus's mother said, allegedly, immaculate conception. In other words, I don't know how I got these seeds. They just appeared. Or I don't know how I got pregnant with my baby Jesus. He just appeared. All right. I'm having fun. Happy Monday. I wanted to keep this short because I've got a lot of other things going on in life right now. But we won't get into that. Save that maybe for another episode. I hope you found value in this conversation that I had today. Brian says, do I just call your cell? No, go to colememo.com/live. I mean, you can call my cell. You got my number, but colememo.com/live. You just tap the button on your phone or computer and you'll get right into the StreamYard. It's super easy. Would love to hear what you have to say. Folks, we'll be right back on this episode of
The Cole Memo.
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 The Cole Memorandums.
The Cole Memorandum.
The Cole Memo.
This drug is dangerous. You cannot play with it. It's not funny. It's not something to laugh about. Good people don't smoke marijuana.
All right. It sounds like we're about to get a call from our friend from Texas. I don't know if Brian's from Texas. I know he spends a lot of time in Texas. I think we're about to get a call from our good friend Brian, who have been trying to get on the podcast for a while. Going to give him some time to hop on. Then we'll be wrapping up the show. Appreciate y'all chilling. What you smoking on? What do you find people smoking on this afternoon? Let's make sure that this is set up for Brian. Here Here's a funny test. You want to see? Look how easy this is. Going on my phone. This is just for people watching right now. If you're wondering, you go colememo.com/live. There's a button right there. You tap it, and it's entering me into the studio now. I get to select my name and my headline, which I'm just going to put as Cole Memo and Cole Preston. Hi, Cole. I'm happy to call into your show. Anyways, I'm not going to keep doing this. Yeah, it's that easy. Do it right from your phone, from your computer. You don't have to turn your video on like I just did. I just thought that'd be funny. Brandon Krieger said he's smoking on some homegrown. Hell yeah, me too. Mike says he's smoking on hash. Lots of 710 labs. Are you like doing dabs or are you like smoking straight up hash? I almost smoked some hash the other night. Found a little jar that I had that I forgot I had. I was like, damn, I got hash. Nice. Somebody says they're smoking on C99 crossed with deep chunk, a little hash coil before I start making dinner. Now I'm making 4 tortillas. Or did you mean to say flour tortillas? Ah, yes, he did say. He's like, I meant to say flour tortillas. Getting a call. We'll be right back, folks. I might need to help Brian get on here. We'll be right back. Look, I got a bumper just for this situation. All right, just got off the phone with Brian. Thank you for holding, folks. Did you like my hold music? I was prepared. For that exact scenario. I do got to get running here, but I've been wanting to talk to Brian, so let's see if we can get him in here. All right, folks. Sorry for the dead air here. Oh, Brian's on. Brian, I'm going to bring you on here. How's it going, dude?
Man, how are you doing, man?
I can't hear you. Can others? Oh, that's just me. Sorry, my computer is muted. How's it going, Brian?
I'm doing awesome. How are you doing, brother?
I'm doing good. Thanks for calling in. Any thoughts you wanted to share just on anything? It's your space.
Where are we at? Are we talking about the Trump announcement today?
We were. Yep. We're talking about the Trump rescheduling statement. Yep.
Reclassification. So let me, and I'm sorry, I'm in the car on the way home.
All good.
Really interesting. I watched it. Look, here's my take on it. I'm a big Farm Bill fan. Always have been. Like, I think that is the best way for us to get this done, for everyone. And them always saying reclassification is really, to me, it's a telltale sign. We're not talking about rescheduling. We're talking about reclassifying this plant. And maybe
What's
it's descheduling, maybe it's Schedule 3, but my hope is that we do this through the Farm Bill. It's an agricultural commodity. So yeah, that was really watching that today and watching his reaction. Again, I've never seen the word reschedule come out of any of their mouths. Um, my hope is we do this through the Farm Bill. Always has been.
Gotcha. So you're saying that he's specifically saying reclassifying, which could mean, like you say, a variety of things.
Yeah, exactly. And it's all, and Cole, I got my foot on both sides of the fence. Been in this for over 20 years. I was, marijuana for 18 of those years, the last 5 on both sides of the fence. And I just see the Farm Bill being the better way, the faster way, the better way, to get this done for everyone across the United States, in every state.
Yeah.
I
Are
mean,
you
let's reclassify it.
right? What do you say to people that say that? I've seen people say, like our friend, the Dank Informer, for example, say that, and people like him say that, cannabis, it shouldn't be on the Farm Bill. Like my take on it is that it's a plant, and perhaps we should regulate it like we do other plants. But what's your take?
What is my take is, he's got money in this somewhere. He's making money off of his stock. Dank, what's up, brother? We go back and forth all the time, but these most people like these limited license, where they can have their, not monopolies, but whatever you want to call them. And that protects their stock options, and that protects all of that. So of course that's what they're going to say. Shit, that's what I used to say, 7 years ago, is the state programs were the way to go. But to me, it's garbage. Like, we need to worry about the people over the profits. And there are states that do not have access to these state limited license programs, and they need to call it hemp for now. It's all the same plant, but for now, some of these states, we need to call it hemp
Right.
and get it rolled out. So yeah, of course the people, the big multi-state operators are gonna say we need it done state by state. I think they're protecting, they don't want competition.
It's interesting. One thing I've seen people say is like, okay, so these hempers, as they call them, want legalization and all of this. Where are their proposals? And of course, I'm very familiar with a proposal that I keep hearing about. It's the 3-pillar approach: age gating, a labeling of a product, and testing a product. By the way, this is the model that's used in dispensaries for folks that aren't, maybe haven't gone into a dispensary. That's the model they use. And so I say just apply that to all cannabis sales. We'll stop calling it hemp and marijuana, because that's silly. Um, but some people will say to that, it's like, okay, if you believe that, where are your proposals? And it's like, I mean, first of all, I'm just an advocate. I'm actually not involved in policy, but how do you, like, there have been proposals, right? Like the Biden bill, for example, but just curious on your take when they say, I've seen no proposals from the hempers. They just want to sell synthetics to children.
Yeah, which is garbage. Stop with the children thing. There are proposals out there. There are people talking about this. It really just gets drowned out by all of this. Oh, illicit, stop selling to the kids, synthetic garbage. There are people that are talking, that are trying to make the moves, that are meeting, in Washington, D.C., talking about this stuff. But of course, all the other stuff is just going to drown that out right now. If there wasn't, then we wouldn't have these bills like Wyden's. We wouldn't have like Rand Paul pushing these things forward. I personally, and 99.9% of the hemp people, the hempsters that I deal with, We want the regulations. We've been asking for the regulations. I'm in Texas. We've been asking for years for the 21 thing. And finally, Abbott, because things couldn't get pushed through because of politics, Abbott stepped up and said 21 and up now. And it's done. So yeah, no, all of this noise about we just want to sell synthetic, this and that and the next thing, it's just noise, and that's just what people do because they have the voice right now to try to drown us out. But the fact is, look, I have got a hemp project in Texas, a distro with over 50 brands, not one synthetic. They were able to, they had something, a mislabel to a product that was in a store. They were able to recall that product and get it back to the manufacturer in hours once it was, once it was highlighted by dishes. It is already in place. Everybody cherry picks, pulls out these bad actors and highlights them. These studies like 93% of product is not what it says. You know what? I can pick 144 products just like that study did, and 100% of them will pass the test. So all these cherry picked things that they are, hyping up are garbage. I'm in the industry. I'm on both sides of the fence, and I see the players that are doing it right. 50 brands I have on shelves in Texas, and they will all pass the sniff test. So, let's keep going.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, hey man, I'd love to get you on for, sometime when you're, not in a vehicle and can actually sit down and chat, but I do appreciate you calling in. We'll figure it out. I know we're both busy people, so we'll figure it out. But before you go, before I let you go, just while you got the platform, did you want to say anything else?
No, man, let's actually set something up where I can sit down and have we can actually dig in to some different things that are going on. I'm excited to see what's going to come out the next few weeks. I would not be surprised if this EO that everybody's talking about falls by way of the Farm Bill. Look, we have a president that signed the 2018 Farm Bill. Our president is not going to say he made a mistake and created a loophole in my mind. He is not the guy to say, oops, I made a mistake. Let's fix it this way. So I'm still bullish on the Farm Bill, and guess what? We have medical stuff, and there will always be people who want to work with their doctor, want to go through that program. But if we have a medical program in this country, and then we have hemp as our recreational program, then maybe that's the way to go. I mean, I'm not the smartest person in the world, but that makes the most sense to me.
Yeah. Yeah. I thought it was notable today, to your point, to one of the points that you made, that Anthony Varell on the Dales Report said that he's heard from a pretty trusted source that, and I think Anthony's a great reporter, so this is why, if I don't know if he would accept that title, but I guess I tend to, value what he says. And one of the things that he did say was that he heard that, Trump was kind of surprised about the wide scale impact of what people are calling the impending hemp ban.
I love Anthony, love Shad. Those guys are they go back and forth with I think their view on the hemp side, but yeah, I take that as a valuable thing that he said that yeah, Trump didn't know what was actually going to happen. And since that, the voices are getting louder, people are talking about it more. I think it's a positive thing. So yeah, shout out to Anthony and Shad for what they do.
Yeah, they're both great. I got the chance to talk to Shad in Chicago. I just only was able to say hi to Anthony. I didn't want to interrupt. But I had to stop and say hi and kudos. And if you don't watch the Dales Report, I try to tune in pretty regularly. It's great. I see Brian there pretty regularly as well. So check out the show. And yeah, man, we'll definitely set something up. Other people are giving TDR the thumbs up, so people know what the word is. Again, just giving you the last word before I go, and I'm going to close out the show actually after I let you go. Anything else you wanted to say before we go? And I'll text you afterwards so we can work some things out.
Yeah, no, just people before profits. That's what this is all about. This is about getting this plant out to everyone that needs it, no matter what form that comes in. If it's medical, if it's recreational, if it's hemp, call it whatever you want to call it, but get it into the hands of the people that need it and stop worrying about your pockets.
Well said. And I don't know, just trying to help out a regular viewer. Somebody says they're in Champs, and I know that this person owns a hemp store in Illinois. They say they want to talk to you about those 50 brands you were referencing. Maybe they're gonna carry them. So look out for Brandon at Champs in Austin if you're there.
Yeah, and you guys take a look at Look, I make a lot of people mad on LinkedIn, but I'm on LinkedIn. I'm not really, X isn't really my style, but that LinkedIn, reach out to me on LinkedIn. I try to stay on top of it as much as I can. And yeah, whoever, reach out, please.
Great. Great. Well, Brian, thank you for calling in, and safe travels wherever you're headed. Okay.
Right on, brother. You have a great night. We'll talk soon.
Yep. I'll hit you up. All right, folks. Well, cool. That was really cool. I'm going to go because, like I said, I got some other things to tend to. I hope you found value in this episode of the Cole Memo. We'll make a conversation with Brian happen here in the future. And like I say, stay tuned. We're going to be having the folks from Smart Approaches to Marijuana on the show again. That's going to be fun. And we will have, one thing I didn't announce, we'll have a lawyer on the show tomorrow to talk about an active lawsuit in the state of Illinois. I also plan to talk to a craft grower in the state of Illinois who recently filed a lawsuit. He says, Cole, we're going to burn this shit down. It's going to be your most controversial Illinois cannabis podcast to date. Illinois cannabis industry podcast, I would say. So stay tuned for that. We got a lot of cool things coming down the pipe, and pipe. I don't know, chat. Is it pipe or pike? Like the street, or is it coming down the pipe? I don't know. Kat says, thank you for the show. Thank you for tuning in. Penny Hart says, ooh, spicy. Yeah, it's going to be crazy. This operator, I mean, they made a recent statement at an Illinois Department of Agriculture hearing, and they just really detailed a lot of different crazy things. So I am so excited to talk about it. Two Dope Dude says, my vote is pipe. Some cat on the internet says to wear a hazmat suit. They're okay. They're fun. We have fun. Like I say, colememo.com/Sam. I even went to Washington D.C. and I had dinner with it's funny, I just thought about it. I've been calling it dinner for so long. I'm pretty sure we just went and got like Shake Shack or something like that. And I'm pretty sure they paid for it. The Shake Shack. Not my trip or anything. I got there on my own dime, but I did get Shake Shack from Smart Approaches to Marijuana. I don't know about you, but that's pretty fucking, I mean, hey. I'm just being silly. Brandon says, I hope you make Sam pay you for the airtime. No, seriously, all jokes aside, I've been silly this whole show because I don't know. I'll just be straight with you guys. I'm going through some really messed up stuff right now. And it's nothing like bad. Well, I mean, it sucks, but it's nothing like legal or anything like that. It's just like, people are mean sometimes. And I've got people in my life that we're not, on the same page right now. And so that's always tough. But I don't know why what I was going to say. Oh, I've been silly this whole episode because that's my coping mechanism. Um, but straight up, I enjoy having people on that have opposing viewpoints, and I just always find it fascinating. And so that's why I have Sam on. We might disagree, but I find it fascinating that they actually believe some of these things. Uh, and I always like to hear why they believe it. And I try to be respectful of those beliefs. So I hope that my humorous comments didn't come off as too flippant or whatever. But again, just trying to be fun. All right. Somebody just messaged me and said, if people are being mean to you, I'm happy to beat them up for you. No, it's not that people are being mean to me. It's again, I think the better way to put it is that there's just, somebody in my life that I care about a lot, and we're not on the same page right now. And I just want the best for them. And life's tough sometimes, guys, but that's okay. That's not what we're here to talk about. I hope you're all high and having a great Monday, and I hope you're set to have a great week. If you're watching this after the fact, you can always check the show live on Twitter, YouTube. We put it on Instagram as well, but I would recommend tuning in on YouTube and Twitter. If you subscribe to our YouTube channel at colememo.com/YouTube, you can be notified every time we go live and never miss a live stream. But of course, I always release the episodes on all streaming platforms. So like Spotify, SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, and more. So if you're one of those listeners, thank you for listening. If you haven't already, please rate the show favorably and share it with your friends. You can check out all my work at colememo.com. Folks, once again, have a great week, and I will keep you in the loop. We've got a pretty stacked week as far as cannabis content goes. I don't know that it'll all come out this week. I don't know that I'll broadcast some of those conversations live. We'll see. Sometimes I do it. Sometimes I'm like, fuck it, we'll do it live. Sometimes I don't do it live. For example, the ones that tend to be about lawsuits, just out of respect for the people I like, let's try to be. Anyways, though, we'll see. We'll see. I hope you guys enjoy the live streams because I do. Take care.